I am Natasha Pierre, and for the time that I am with you today, I want to talk about awakening ourselves so that we can awaken the world. I'm in the midst of an awakening in pretty much just about every area of my life. And I know that there's so many people around the globe that are finding themselves in the midst of maybe perhaps a forced awakening, something that you weren't expected, but the time is here. And so for the time that I'm with you, I want to share why it's so important that we yield to this. 2020, I think, has been for many people what we all thought 2000 was going to be. Remember Y2K and all the hubbub about how our electronic devices wouldn't be able to convert from the 1999 to the 2000. We thought there would be just mass chaos and mayhem. Well, that didn't happen. But 2020, from the onset, after our vision boarding, after our meditative sessions at the end of last year, all of the ways that we wrote down our goals and our expectations for this new year. Here in the United States, as soon as we got started, there was talk about a possible World War III that was floating around social media. Then we caught our breath, and then the world was reeling from the unexpected death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. And before we can take yet another breath, here comes the coronavirus with a global impact. One by one, we saw countries and states shut down. In came terms such as social distancing and physical distancing and isolation. And it was frustrating, it was annoying, it was inconvenient, it was unexpected, it was infuriating on so many levels. And so today, what I am hoping to share with you is as frustrating and annoying and inconvenient as everything has been in 2020. What if? What if everything that we're experiencing, what if the global, national, regional, and local frustrations, what if our individual and our corporate areas of dis-ease are really just one giant alarm clock that is beckoning for us to wake up and pay attention? Pay attention to what there is for us to learn about ourselves, about others, about our world, about God. What if it's not for us to run from the discomfort? What if it's not for us to lament and mourn and yearn for the normal and the comfort that we once had prior to all of these changes? But what if it's just for us to sit in the discomfort, yield to it, stop kicking against the prick, and just discover if there is something for us to learn in this space? Gandhi said that we are to be the change that we want to see in the world. And I absolutely love that statement, because inherent in that statement, built into that statement, is the awareness that our participation and our involvement is necessary. If we are ever going to manifest the peace, the love, the patience, the kindness, the justice that we so desire to have in our world, it starts with us first. How can we manifest what we do not already possess? How can we be the love that the world needs if we aren't walking in love? How can we be the peace and the patience and the kindness and the gentleness that we so desire to have manifest in our schools and in our corporations and in our faith communities if we did not embody it first? I study English. I studied English in undergraduate. I love etymology and the meaning of words and the origin of words. So when we talk about being the change, it's a verb, it's an action word. It is also present progressive tense. It means that as long as you are in this earth realm and you have breath, you're always going to be awake. You're always going to be alive and vibrant and changing and dynamic. always in this earth realm. When we talk about change, we're talking about our ability to make a difference. So in essence, be the change you want to see in the world means that for today and forevermore, you and I must repeatedly and continuously show up as the difference our existence is supposed to be in this earth. It's not about us pointing fingers about who's supposed to make the change and who's supposed to be the difference makers. You are the change agent. You are the difference maker. It starts with you. And so 2020 and realistically from last year, I've been in just one seemingly nonstop evolution. You know, I heard it said this morning by Bishop Carlton Pearson that 2020 is the best of times and it's the worst of times. Personally, it's been the best of times because I am living 100% fully in my purpose. I'm grateful that my vocation and my passions, my talents, skills, and abilities are all lining up. Yes, people are recognizing it and speaking engagements are coming in, and that's wonderful. And simultaneously, I now have 10 people who have contracted the coronavirus, 4 of whom have died. And so, best of times, great things are happening. I'm being the change agent, being the difference maker, and simultaneously, absolute grief. And yet, I must still awaken in the process of all the good, in the process of all the not so good. I must still continue to awaken myself, to awaken the world. And in the intro, yes, I am a mental health advocate. I promote mental wellness. My life work is to ensure that everyone I encounter live with peace of mind and are able to manifest that for themselves. You know, I have my own 20-year mental health journey, diagnosed with a severe mental illness, having experienced the full spectrum of all symptoms. If you can Google it, chances are I have experienced it. And back in 2015, 2014, 2015, perhaps one of the toughest times of my life, I was being challenged on every front, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually. It was perhaps the greatest awakening of the 2000s for me. It was awful. I had my dark nights of the soul. I had my frustrating points and my annoyances. I had my laments and my fears. But I made a decision. I made a decision that I was going to awaken. I made a decision that I was going to be and live authentically me, no matter what it costs. And here's the thing about awakening. It's hard. It's hard because it's a solo sport. There is no one that can awaken for you. There's no one that can do the work and learn the lessons for you. It's something that you've got to do for yourself. It's a solo sport. People can give you books to aid and facilitate your awakening. They can connect you to people who are awakened themselves. They can lead you to places where awakening has occurred. But at the end of the day, we're all individually responsible for how we awaken ourselves. Awakening is hard because it requires self-awareness. It requires a temperature check. One of the things that's happening in this age of COVID-19 is that there are many places that are requiring temperature checks before you enter. And that's because one of the symptoms is a high temperature. Well, you know what? Before anyone can check your temperature, you need to check your temperature. Back in 2014 and 2015, before anyone can tell me that my life was out of sorts, I needed the self-awareness. I needed to recognize that my life was out of sorts. I needed to hold that mirror up to myself, which was hard, and recognize that change difference needed to occur. I needed to first recognize and realize all the things that were happening in my sphere, my orbit, before anyone else did. Awakening is hard because it requires courage. It requires courage to defy, to pivot, to do an about face, to disregard, to discard everything that is no longer congruent with the who that you are right now. Back in 2014 and 2015, when I'm being told that this is the diagnosis that I have and what needs to happen, I decided to create the wellness plan that worked for me. Not just completely discarding what I was told, but knowing that if I was ever going to manifest the peace of mind that I wanted for myself, the way that my mind envisioned it, I needed to participate. I had to be the change that I wanted to see first in my life before I can see it in the world. Disregarding, discarding, change, courage. It means you're going to have to turn away from all of the ways that you've been told how to do something, all of the ways that you've been taught, all of the ways that you've been trained, that maybe you have trained, that have been passed on generation to generation. What is working for you right now? What is it that your soul is longing for, that you are crying out for? That silent scream, what is that thing? And it takes courage, because many times awakening is a solo mission. If you're fortunate, if you're blessed, you're going to have someone to accompany you on the journey. But everyone is awakening in their own way at their own pace. And courage means that I'm going to move forward. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to blaze this trail. I'm not certain what's at the end of this path, but I have the peace, the inner peace, and knowing that I am on the right path. Awakening is hard because, again, similar to the word be, awakening is that present progressive verb. It doesn't stop. Awakening keeps going and going and going, and you commit to awakening over and over and over again. One awakening that I had in 2014 and 2015, that was great for that season, but here I am yet again in another season of awakening. Awakening means that you have to commit to being a lifelong learner. Lifelong learner. The Institute for Leadership and Lifelong Learning I'm a faculty member there, and it is for people who recognize that as long as we're on this earth, there's always going to be something to learn. Again, about ourselves, about others, or about God. Awakening means that we're not rested. We're not sitting in our laurels, satisfied with all of the information that we have, but we recognize that there is more information to obtain, more knowledge to be had, more wisdom to walk in, because the sum of who we are, the totality of who we are, requires that we elevate and that we level up every single day. We're talking about awakening to ourselves first so that we can awaken the world. Our world, our globe, our world and globe and consciousness as we know it is the sum, is the manifestation of who we are. And so if that's going to change, the parts of that greater whole, the you, the me, we're going to have to change. So where do you need to awaken? Where do you need to awaken? There are many places for us all to awaken, and seemingly I'm once again awakening in many different areas. But is it that you need to awaken in your spirituality and your faith? For me, I think I have always been on an awakening journey with spirituality and faith. I have never been afraid of exploring God as I know God to be. Of course, I'm taught different things and I hear different things and I read. But what was most important for me is that I knew God, spirit source, whatever word you use, for myself. It wasn't enough for me to regurgitate someone else's favorite parts. If I was reading a holy book, I wanted the manifestation of what was on those pages to be real in my life. So is the awakening right now for you in your faith and spirituality, where you have to move beyond what you've been told and what you've been taught to experience the God that you desire? And if so, walk in that. Is the awakening in terms of your identity? I am yet again in an identity awakening to my own worth, my own value, separate from my doing, separate from the things that you are good at, separate from all of the ways that people pay you, separate from your titles and all of the roles and hats that you wear, separate from all of that. Who are you? Who do you say that you are? I've been called actress, model, coach, speaker, author. All of those are things that I do. That at the core of my being, I am a global citizen that desires that when anyone encounters me, whenever I encounter anyone, that they indeed know that they've been in the presence of God. That's who I am. So is it that your identity, that you need to break away from your human doing and embrace more of your human being? Is that where the awakening needs to happen for you? What about in your relationships and friendships? Perhaps that's where the awakening needs to occur. Perhaps there needs to be a shift away from the people who were for you in one season and beneficial in one season, but they're not beneficial in this season. And now you need to find your tribe, and you need to connect with the people with whom you're going to co-create with in this season. Perhaps that's where the awakening lies. Where's the awakening for you? Is it an awakening in your understanding of good and evil? One of the things that I have purposed in this season of my life is I'm not using the word bad and wrong. There's good, there's not so good. And that's what works for me. Because truth be told, even the things that I may have wanted to call mistakes and errors and lapse in judgment in my life, they were all fuel for the who that I am today. Nothing goes to waste. Everything is part of the big stew and the big jambalaya that is my life, that allows me to sit fully assured in my isness, in my authenticity, and share with you today. Where do you need to awaken? One of my favorite phrases for this season is one that comes from Reverend Temple Hayes, which is, I'm not making it wrong. I'm not making them wrong. Everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different path, a different way that they're going to explore their life, and I'm not making any of it wrong. What I want to do is to elevate, to raise my vibration, to be more of who I am to be. That's what I want to do. So where's the awakening for you? Where is it supposed to transpire? You know, one of the awakenings that I'm in the midst of is with understanding death and dying. In less than a year, I've had 6 deaths of people that were really close to me, that in my human understanding, I don't know why. I don't know why my human mind is frustrated by that. Why now? Why them? Etc. But the awakening that I'm having right now is that I'm asking the wrong questions. And sometimes that's the awakening. It's not that you are there's something wrong with you desiring answers, but we're asking the wrong questions. The question right now, again, is what am I supposed to learn about me, about others, or about God? Recognizing that the people that I have lost in less than a year, for me, aren't gone. They've just transitioned. They've changed form. That's the awakening for me. That's the awakening that I need in this season. And that's what's working for me. Awakening for me is spiritually, okay, I want to know more of how I can show up as God in everything that I do, in every encounter. And much of that involves transcending my humanness, transcending, and we all have them. I know I'm not alone, transcending the tantrums and the frustrations and the base communications and interactions, and elevating to some other plane. That's the awakening that I am in. Relative to mental health, my awakening is in discovering how I can manifest peace for me when there's chaos. One of my favorite phrases right now is psychological homeostasis. How can I maintain balance and self-regulate in this season when there's the coronavirus, there is racial awareness being brought to the surface, when people are behaving badly everywhere? How can I maintain that state of calm and that state of being? And for me, awareness is that I can't do it in just my strength. And so I meditate, and so I pray. Yes, there's absolute value to that. I can tell you 100% that I would be unable to do all that I do and to be here with you if meditation wasn't a mainstay, a constant part of my every day. So we're awakening. We're awakening to ourselves first so that we can awaken to the world. How am I doing that? How can you do that? One of my favorite quotes is from Brene Brown. Don't shrink, don't puff up, stand your sacred ground. With all of the demands that pull on us to be something that we're not, I am comfortable and I'm rested, and I've made my address in being simply Natasha, simply the me that I was created to be, and to show up as her in every moment that I can. One of my other favorite phrases is that, and again, Reverend Temple, the world, the universe has plenty of everything that I need. And so there's no scarcity. Everything that I need, every person that I need, every resource that I need comes to me quickly. And so that's my awakening, because I'm not hoarding. I'm in a process of tossing and discarding as much as I can, because I know everything that I need, every person that I need to connect to is coming to me quickly. That's how I'm awakening. Be the change you want to see in the world from today and henceforth, today and forevermore, repeatedly, continuously. Show up as the difference that the world needs, that your existence is intended to bring into this earth. Continuously, over and over, show up as that. We're not looking for leaders, we're being the leaders. We're not looking for the right voice, but we're being the right voice. We're awakening ourselves so that we can awaken the world. And as I close, I'm moving forward in freedom. The freedom that I desire for myself is the freedom that I desire for everyone else. And if you needed permission to be fully who you are, undiluted who you are, functioning at full strength, high beams on, driving in the depending on where you are, whatever lane is the speeding lane, the go fast lane, driving fully in that lane. If you needed permission to do that and to be that, then I am giving you permission to do that today, because the world needs your genius. And the more awakened you are to yourself first, it is the more awakened you can be to the world. Thank you.